Live. Live.
I'm still trying to post, so hold on a second.
Oh my goodness, Bradley. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our humble abode.
We're so glad
So glad you're here.
How many people are here?
Oh, I don't know. 7? There might be some people on YouTube, though. Let me
There's
hop
7
on over to
people here
YouTube.
already?
7 on Facebook.
Wow.
And 0 on YouTube. That's okay. Facebook's where it's at. Facebook's where it's at. It's
Hey,
weird having
if
my
you're here-
phone instead of my... Yes.
Give us a shout out.
If you are here, comment down below. It will be important that everyone who is here comments because that's how I'm going to put your name in a raffle to win one of my new books. I'm going to give away a book tonight.
Aw.
Well, not technically tonight. I'll do the giveaway on Saturday. But anyone who comments on this video, live or watching later, all you have to do is comment. You
Just
can
say,
comment
hey.
your
Or
favorite
you can
color.
say hi.
You can comment. How about this? You comment which one of us is your favorite.
You got to throw Bruce in on that. 'cause
Brad,
Bruce has a mic.
Justin Brown, good to see you. Eric Bobian. Ooh, Kristen is there as well. Welcome the Bobian clan, the Bobian fam. Nick Sprunger here and excited. Nick, good to see you,
Wow.
brother. Yep, comment down below. That is how you can enter to win one of my books.
I'm struggling here.
Scott Dunges, comment. Brad, did you even share this already?
You know, I tried. Okay?
He's doing the best
I don't
he
have my
can.
computer.
Tara
I forgot
Marie,
my computer.
good to see you.
And so I'm
Go to the live stream, mute your phone.
Hey, just give me a minute.
I'm saying this with all the grace of Jesus.
I don't think so.
Oh my goodness, friends. It is good to be back. Mute your phone. I'm in a great
Look,
mood.
There it is. Okay. Hey, look,
Justin Brown, I like the Diet Dr. Pepper the best.
Come on.
We have this nice, beautiful set, and then Brad's.
You'll never guess where we had
drinks.
dinner tonight.
Where do we have dinner? Here, zoom in on Brad, Bruce, and then pick up your cup.
Yeah.
Panda.
Because we went to Salvatore's and couldn't get in the door.
Well, we didn't try. To be fair, we didn't try to get in the door.
It's true. I was really looking forward to pizza
At Salvatore's.
at Salvatore's because they have gluten free.
I've got blizzard burps. I've got ice cream burps just coming up. Last night when we were doing the live stream for the book, Marissa and I was just burping up hot dog from C3 Sports. Oh, the C3 Sport hot dogs are the worst. But
They're actually really good, although they're not good without a bun. I've been eating without a bun. And
that's disgusting.
It's very nasty. I got to admit,
eating
that's very nasty.
just plain hot dogs, just without a bun. Dude, you are sweating through your shirt.
Am I?
No. No, your chest hair was just prickling it, and it made it look a little bit, made your shirt look a little bit
I need to
moist.
Diet Dr. Pepper.
So, hey, everyone. Bruce Colbert is joining us tonight. Bruce, say hello.
Hello, everyone. Good
I
to be
guess
here.
if you would like to say hello. You don't,
I would love
you don't
to
have to
say
do
hello.
what I say just because I say it. I don't want to come, sound, I don't want to sound too demanding.
I pretty much do whatever you tell me.
I appreciate that. Well, hey, if you are just now tuning in, comment down below. That is how I'm going to pick a winner for a free book of mine.
This is my comment down below.
Comment down below. Literally put anything.
Anything.
And I'll put every person who comments in a raffle on Saturday, whether you're watching live or a little bit later, and give away one of my books. I'll ship it to you.
I wish I wouldn't have bought one because maybe I'll win.
No, you're supposed to support me, Brad.
Nah, try to.
Yep. Well, hey, it is 8:03. We have 9 people watching. Should we get started?
I think so.
All right.
Hey, welcome everybody to Generationally Speaking.
You don't have an outline in front of you, so you have no idea where you're going next.
I had no idea. It's season 4,
Season 4.
episode
How many viewers do we have right now?
9. Is it episode 9?
This is the last
Really?
episode. Episode 9.
Did you notice that Bruce is limping around over there as he gets off his? I wish we had a camera over there. Anyway, hey, we're so glad that you were here. This is Jordan Chitwood, our online pastor and author extraordinaire.
Author extraordinaire.
Yeah, and I happen to be Brad, the lead pastor.
You've already
And
said that.
nothing extraordinary about it.
Anyway,
So-
this is Generationally Speaking. Brad messed up this part where we take relevant
Bruce, did you notice
topics.
he took that right over because I messed it all up.
He was trying to let you muddle
He
through it. And he
really
couldn't
did.
take it
He
anymore.
really did.
Where we take relevant topics and approach them through the pastoral lens of our generation. If your phone falls one more time, I'm throwing it. This is going to be a great night.
It's going to be a great time tonight.
Oh, friends, this is episode 9, the final serious podcast of season 4. The last Thursday of the month, we are doing game night to wrap up all of season 4. But this is the last serious night, and we are talking about mental illness for Mental Health Awareness Month.
Yep.
And we're going to
we're in the middle of a mental health series,
which has been incredible. We've already had multiple people reach out to us.
And people talking and things like that, which has been really great.
Yeah, I think it's cool because not just the church, but the world is breaking its stigma on mental health conversation.
Yeah.
And that really started to happen post the height of COVID, of when isolation hit, when depression hit, and people were starting to struggle a lot more, they realized, okay, this is something I have to take care of and educate myself or really start to prioritize my health.
It's so prevalent.
Right.
And, the stats tell you, you can look the stats up yourself because Jordan didn't take time to make a sheet.
I didn't make an outline for you. Hey, but our new youth pastor, Nick Sprunger, wants to know who's the awesome guest for game night. I just told you who it was before. Who is it?
It's Nick Sprunger.
It's Nick Sprunger.
Can you believe it?
He's going to be joining us.
Our brand new youth pastor.
And I think Piper's going to be joining us too. We're going to have 4 people.
Are you serious?
Yeah,
why am I even going to show up? I'll just stay home.
No, it's anything goes. Oh, well, you can stay home, I guess. We can have that conversation
later.
I'll
be here.
Yeah, you've already missed like 3 episodes.
I did?
So anyway, tonight we are talking about mental health. We're going to talk about some approaches to finding healing amidst some of our mental health. We're going to talk about hope. We're going to ask some questions. We are going to wrestle with some tough things, but mostly the goal for tonight is us answering the question, how can the church better walk alongside people who are struggling with their mental health?
Because I would argue we have not done a great job of that over the course of years and decades.
Right. And in our approach, specifically because of generational differences to struggles, I don't think the generations have given one another enough grace in this conversation. All parties, looking
in any
at
conversation,
each other.
honestly.
Yeah, that's why we have Generationally Speaking, where we take relevant topics and approach them through the pastoral lens of our generation.
Wow, that was smooth.
I know. I write it every week, and I give it to you to say, and you butcher
I haven't said it yet.
You haven't said it correctly a single time. Yeah. So, hey, I wanted to start out by reading just 4 things. Was telling you, tomorrow is my kind of recertification of mental health first aid.
Right.
And so I had to do a bunch of prep homework today and stuff for it. And I learned there's 4 things that really impact mental health and really impact people not getting mental health aid. Okay. First one is cost. Right?
Yeah.
So obviously affordability, whether insurance plans take counseling, psychiatric evaluations, dietitian evaluations, etc. All the different things, cost of, mental health, just like other health, is expensive. And a lot of times there isn't great aid, toward that, or not all insurance plans cover it.
And it's very limited.
And very limited and stuff. Right. Okay. So that's one maybe one that you relate to of why people, stay away from mental health aid. Second one, stigma. And that's part of why tonight kind of the topic is we're breaking the stigma. We're talking about it, the stigma. And Brad, can you speak a little bit onto just the stigma, especially with your generation? And even Bruce, after Brad's done, I want you to chime in on something what you texted me in.
Yeah, this is huge. And I think I said this on Sunday when we were all on stage, is that especially my generation, I would say that we looked at mental health issues, mental illnesses as a weakness.
Yeah.
And so you just didn't talk about weaknesses. You know, it's something that you were ashamed of, you didn't want to talk about, we just pushed it aside. And so I think that's where a lot of our generation is coming from. And Bruce actually sent a text to us this weekend and made a comment, and it was the exact same thing that Barb and I had actually been talking about, and that very day after our Sunday talk about our generations. And so, Bruce, why don't you just unpack that a little bit for us? I think this is if there's any boomers out there, older Gen X, I think this sums up a lot of what the stigma is and what we're talking about.
Yeah, I basically was just saying, I think a lot of Brad and I's generations especially just have a problem with the concept and the term illness. Like a lot of us would say, well, there are supposed to be times that you're supposed to be stressed and have anxiety. And like Sunday, you used the example of you had told Jordan, I was up till 3:00 in the morning, thinking about this. And Jordan goes, well, that's anxiety. And I think the younger generations go, that's anxiety. That's part of mental illness. And our generations go, no, I had a stressful situation. I was supposed to be stressed. Right. That's normal. And it was just an episode. It wasn't a constant recurring issue.
Right. And so I think our generations look at it, when you say a mental illness, we look at things of schizophrenia. We look at, in our day, it wasn't called bipolar. It was manic depressive.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And things that were very severe that disabled you from living in that kind of in normal society.
Yeah.
And so when it's just an anxiety or maybe some slight depression or something, we'd say, well, everybody goes through that.
Right.
I want to ask not really a vulnerable question, but when you were growing up, 2-part question. One, did you know of anyone who had schizophrenia or bipolar disorder growing up? And 2, how did your age group view those people then? That's what I was interested in.
It's a great question. And when we discuss that, I think what I want to say first of all, remind me, I'll probably have to ask you what that question is again, is that's where the
Here, I'm going to answer a different question.
Yeah, I am. Because I'm not finished with this last point.
Okay.
I think that's where the disconnect is between our generations and I think honestly we're talking about the same thing. Mm-hmm. So it's just a matter of, it's a terminology thing. You even said back in the text is that we just need to define it better.
Right.
And so I think we're actually on the same page.
Yeah.
Back to your original question, unless you want to talk about that more.
No. I wanted to hear, because I was just interested in, even when you think about the different things that we've had to grow in or heal from or clean up our language on, just the way that we talk about people in the LGBTQ community, the way we talk about people with color, and the way we talk about different ages and different genders and like our language and understanding, but how we view those people as humans too. And so I was just interested
Exactly. I actually have 2 relatives that were diagnosed with schizophrenia, and we treated them very poorly.
As a family? Or just like society?
We knew it and we wanted to take care of it, but I would say that the family was ashamed of not them, but that we had this in our
do you remember
family.
Like what you thought was the cause of it? Because I know there was so little education on it.
I was young at the time, so I probably would have forgotten about it had we not had all these discussions, and things like that. What was the question?
I was just interested, I know that some people, especially just throughout the world, have viewed different severe mental illnesses such as schizophrenia, bipolar disorder as demon possession even.
Yeah,
and so I didn't know
wasn't
if
that. It was
older generations believed that too.
One came back actually from Vietnam.
Okay.
And was just messed
with
up.
So
part of it was
PTSD,
but he was diagnosed as schizophrenia.
Okay.
And then actually they had a child that was also diagnosed schizophrenia, and so it's a matter of it. Again, we weren't. I don't think the whole family was ashamed of them personally, but they were ashamed that this came out of our DNA, our genes, or something. So they kept it very quiet. It wasn't talked about.
Interesting.
It wasn't. Yeah, totally different than what I would say that we would do today.
Bruce, so you're growing up, and you had parents that were pretty similar to Brad and Barb and his upbringing and stuff. What then was it like transitioning for you, if you remember when you were growing up? How did you guys view some of the more severe mental illnesses versus that question you asked Brad and I in that chat?
Yeah.
Was there still a stigma to the point where you only viewed mental illness as hospitalization worthy type illnesses?
Yes.
Okay.
It was more, when you put the word illness, it was more, this is a long-term, something that you're suffering that is, a recurring thing that you maybe probably not going to get.
Debilitating.
Yes, debilitating. You're not going to get better from.
Right.
Interesting.
Now, what I would say, so I don't think it was so much we're going to hide that. I'm sitting here honestly thinking, I don't know that I even knew anybody that had that. So I don't know that it was maybe necessarily ashamed. It was more of a sadness for them. But what I do know is if there was someone that had an illness like that was that debilitating, it was, oh, I feel bad for them. But everybody else is just stressed from time to time. They just need to get over it and buck up and take care of it. There was it was compassion for someone if they were that bad, but if it was just I'm struggling, it was more of a, well, get yourself out of it. Snap out of it.
And I think our generations did that with depression more than anything.
Okay.
When depression became a mental illness, I think that was our outlook.
Yeah.
Our generation's outlook on something like depression would just get over it.
Yeah. Yeah. Stop thinking that way.
Stop thinking that way.
Yeah. Did your schools talk about it at all?
Oh no.
No.
Not at all.
Not at all. I don't remember anything being discussed about it.
We didn't talk about it too much. Anxiety and depression, that we started talking about it when I was in like middle school health classes and stuff, and high school especially. But it's just fascinating for me to think about it. As you guys were talking about the stigma and stuff, I was interested to see what your upbringing was, especially with some of those more severe mental illnesses, because I think everybody at some point in their life deals with, different levels of anxiety, stress, or depression, or sadness. Like just at some point, just as in seasons, some people have clinical or chronic or longer seasons and periods of stuff that require, help with the chemical imbalance through medication or through counseling. Some people, it's just about establishing healthier routines and habits to, be out of, environmental situations that are caused. Whenever we talk about mental health recovery and healing, there's at least 3 different areas of what I would say mental illness causes. There's environmental, where you're in a situation that is more likely to cause either a depressive state or an anxious state, or, for those who struggle with bipolar disorder, a manic state, or schizophrenia, there might be triggers for different things. Those are environmental things where when you clean up some of your environment, maybe a stressful job, maybe a stressful house, maybe, a dirty house that needs cleaned up. Maybe your schedule is just too busy, stuff like that. Environmental things that you can physically change.
Control. Yeah.
And then there is, obviously chemical imbalance mental illness, where some people just genetically are born with a chemical imbalance in their brain that they need help, just like with different other, physical illnesses that someone might have, that they need help, whether it's high cholesterol or it's blood pressure or it's type 1 or type 2 diabetes, where they need some medication to be able to help. And so that's some things that are more times than not out of our control.
And I think science has gone so much further than what it was back then, that they know these things now. I don't know if I would say in our generations that they actually even had.
I don't think there was that much study in your generation about it.
They didn't know about chemical imbalances and things. They couldn't look at the brain and see how it was reacting.
Right. And that was my learning curve. So in case people don't know, I actually suffer from depression and have been on medication for probably 20 years. And it was through my struggles that I learned that, oh, this is what depression looks like. Because I had this, again, the concept was depression was this big thing, that a mental illness that meant basically you lay in bed all day and couldn't get out of bed and you drooled.
Right.
Right. Like that's, when you said depression, that was the image.
That was the thought. Yeah.
And I'm like, well, I'm not depressed. That's not me. And I had to go through counseling and working with my doctor, go, oh, wait, no, that's not what depression looks like in me. That can actually just be a chemical imbalance in your brain. And
when you were growing up, how prevalent was counseling? Like just in general?
I don't.
Besides like war veterans?
I don't even know if that was probably just starting.
That was something I was also interested in, is because even when you said like you went to counseling before you were willing to admit that, you were depressed, but like, that was something, especially in your generation, the concept of even going to counseling, I figured was pretty foreign.
Yeah, very foreign.
Yeah. That's fascinating.
Would you say, I, as I'm sitting here processing even now, the things like ADHD?
I think that would be one of the chemical mental illnesses.
I don't ever remember that term even coming across a radar when I was in school. Now how many kids you hear about are on ADHD medicine and things like concentration medicine. I don't recall that at all in any school at all.
Yeah, they were just kids who couldn't focus and they needed to. It was an attitude issue.
Disrespectful attitude.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, Fascinating. And then the third one, Bruce, is one you hit on, is seasonal mental illness.
Yeah.
So seasonal depression is, a big thing. There's also seasonal anxiety and whatnot, seasonal, where you go through different seasons, whether it's weather induced, whether it's environmental induced, whether it's relationship induced, whether it's spiritual warfare, and perhaps you're just being attacked, or whether it's, different things like that. But there's seasonal mental illness where it's just a season that you are going through and healing from. And there's still things you can do to soften the struggle, but it requires a lot of work. And so we talked about the stigma, we talked about the cost. The third reason why people don't seek mental health aid is logistics, which I thought was fascinating, which is transportation, finding childcare, the busyness of our schedules, working jobs, when hours are available, finding a counselor in the first place, which has been
and even being able to get an
appointment, especially since COVID. It's been so hard.
I don't know who I was talking to not that long ago who tried to get a counseling appointment, and it was like 9 or 10 months away.
Yeah. And so they've made it a little bit easier nowadays where they, you can do Zoom options, and BetterHelp is an app that a lot of my friends have used, and a few of my family members have used and had success with it as well. But at the end of the day, there's, just like with being in relationship in person, while you can still have great conversations and healing online, it's in-person connection is kind of hard to beat with counseling, especially when you're talking about vulnerable stuff. Now, for some people, that's
That's
wall.
even better.
Yeah, and so it just depends. The last one is awareness. The fourth reason why people don't. And Bruce, this actually goes to your point of where you just didn't necessarily have the knowledge or the terminology where you're like, hey, I don't look like someone drooling on the bed. Like just being aware of the education, the language, what you're feeling and stuff. And that's part of why we're talking about it.
Yeah, and I can remember back when I first came here, Bruce being vulnerable and open about his depression, and the amount of people that you had talked with and said, hey, this could be depression, and they would it never crossed their mind that what they're dealing with was actually depression.
Right.
And there were several people that was able to go get help because of that.
Right. There could be a cause for it. It's not just I'm a bad person.
Right.
I can't will myself out of this. And
Bruce, did you go to a doctor before you went to see a counselor?
I didn't. I went to counseling first. And it was my counselor who said, let's try to work through this, which I always have recommended. It's a both and.
Yeah, me too.
I'm not just a pop a pill to make yourself feel better, but there's no
generation.
There's no shame in, like you said, I tell people all the time, if I was diabetic, I would take insulin.
Right.
So why wouldn't I take something to get the chemicals right in my brain? Like,
it's a great analogy.
So, but I think doing the counseling helped me understand it.
Right.
And put language to it so that Becky and I could talk about it and that kind of thing. So I always recommend doing that as well.
Yeah, I think that's part of where some of the stigma even has come nowadays is it has felt like so many people who are not necessarily trained in mental health care are quicker to just prescribe a medication without perhaps, hey, maybe prescribing counseling aside with it. Right. I know that's why some of my friends have given up on, trying to, get mental health cares because their doctor just wanted to put them on, medicine after medicine after medicine. And for some people, addiction, or they're already taking multiple pills for different things, and they don't want to try it, but they would like to be referred to a counselor as well. So
and I think your points that you just made is there's multiple reasons that could be the issue.
Right.
So it's not a one size fits all, just take a pill.
Right.
And even if you find that, yes, there's something physically off, a chemical imbalance, even then I always tell people, understand you're 6 months to a year away from really getting this dialed in.
Yep.
Because there's no blood test you can take. It's a trial and error. There's different kinds of things that work differently with your brains. You're going to have to try to build it up, try it, see what the side effects are. It's a long-term, I'm going to have to work at this for a while to figure it out.
And it can change.
Yep. And I think it's so important, especially when we are dealing with different mental health struggles, to your point, Bruce, is while medicine is incredible and can help with that chemical imbalance, it often requires lifestyle changes for us to really heal from some of the damage that has been done, but then also to take care of ourselves.
Right.
Just like with anything. Like if you go on a keto diet, to lose some weight really fast, and then you go back off the keto diet and you don't change any of your eating habits, all the weight just will gain back because the keto diet is designed to be an extreme diet to shred weight. But then if you don't change any of your eating habits, when you go right back to your normal food, it's probably not good to eat 7 dinners a night. Like there's different things that, that people
box of
have
Oreos. Not that I would know anything about that.
Box of Oreos. Yeah. So, hey, well, if you weren't aware, I released a book, #ad. It's right here in case you didn't know. It's called Will I Always Feel This Way? This book was written and birthed from my lifelong journey, it feels like. Really, I started dealing with a lot of anxiety and depression sophomore year of high school. But this book came out of the height of COVID. I started writing it 2020 and through 2021. And it started from this journal entry that if you've read chapter 1, I talk about this story. But at the very end of the journal entry to God, I just, was exhausted with feeling the mental illness that I had been dealing with, battling every day. And the last question I wrote, God, will I always feel this way? And I think it's a question a lot of people who struggle with physical illnesses, mental illnesses, chronic pain, people who have been abused and struggle with PTSD. It's just a question that I think a lot of individuals struggle with. God, will I always feel this way? So I wrote a book. It is less than 200 pages, 198. And I wrote it for the average reader to be able to read it in 4 to 6 hours. So it's an easy read. There's a ton of reflection questions, next steps at the end of each chapter. I talk about suicide, anxiety, depression, worthlessness, hopelessness, weariness, stuff like that. You can find it on Amazon. And 100% of the profits are going to a local organization called Courageous Healing. They do mental health first aid, mental health second aid, mental health, intervention, trauma care. It's a great organization. I'm really excited to be able to partner with. And so buy a copy on Amazon, or if you comment down below, I'm going to be giving one away on Saturday, and I will ship it to you as well if you're watching. All you have to do is comment. But Brad, here's the question I asked you on Sunday. You've known me pretty much, you've known me since I was in 6th grade. That's when you started Upward, right? 2006?
2006.
Yeah, so 2008, I was in 8th grade. You've known me since I was in 6th grade.
Yeah.
You've seen me in different seasons. I just don't want you to think back all the way back there. You were also the one that, picked me up and shared the news that my dad passed.
Yep.
And so you've journeyed with Jordan through a lot of different seasons. What I wanted to focus on in this section was you've seen me deal with different levels of mental illness working with me. What has that been like, if you can remember?
A little forewarning would have been good about this, but that's okay. I can make this up as I go.
Yeah. I figured I'd just put you on the spot. I think it's fascinating. There's a lot of people who live with people, walk with people, are friends with people or work with people who struggle with mental illness, who may not understand it. And you, in the last 5 years, have done a great job of trying to learn and understand how someone like me feels. And so I don't know if it's any advice or even just sharing some thoughts or some stories or what.
I think if I had any advice, it would be to my generation, because honestly, I'm sure there was a lot of frustration at the beginning because I did not understand. And it was reverting back to my understanding, my growing up, my generation of... Well, you just need to get over this, and some of this stuff.
Right.
And even if there's even a slight bit of truth to that,
right,
it's not where you start from.
Right.
It would be some of my advice.
Yeah, don't start with that.
Yeah, it's not a good place to start with. And here's, I think, the thing that I have been so impressed with that I hope other people will do what you did is you fought this thing.
Yeah.
You did not, and it was a roller coaster ride for you.
Yeah.
And Bruce, you can attest to something because you were through this whole thing also.
Yeah.
And I loved how you pursued and fought. And as I tried to gain to understand what you were feeling, what you're going through, it opened my eyes to a lot of different things. And for me, again, I keep relating this back to now that I have grandkids, because my kids are all grown, and I'm sure they struggled with some things that I probably should have dealt with back then.
Just get over it.
went through a divorce.
Yeah.
You know, I don't remember talking to any of our, I won't say that. Barb and I did try to talk and what have you some, but I don't know if I went deep enough of how are you feeling? It's just something that I didn't grow up with, so I just didn't do that. But through watching you and some other people deal with this kind of stuff, it was one of those things that, yeah, this is real. And yeah, Bruce,
Bruce, I'm married to your daughter.
Yeah,
Yes.
so there's that.
What's that been like since you have been even closer to me?
Yeah, I
over
mean,
the last
I would
decade?
say that there were definitely times where I would say initially I had questions. You know, you default to, is it really as bad as they're saying?
Yeah.
Are they just making more drama?
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
they're probably stressed, but come on, it's not that bad. And it did take me a while. I guess what I did appreciate, like Brad said about you, Jordan, walking through it, is you worked at it.
Yeah.
Right.
And when I saw you working at it, I went, okay, well, maybe there is something here. Because he's not just complaining. He's not just giving into it.
It wasn't a oh poor me.
Right. Exactly. It was, I want to get better.
Yeah.
Right.
And when I saw that, I went, okay, there could be something to this. And I had enough of my own. There was a little bit of difference because you struggled more with anxiety. I struggled more with depression.
Yeah.
We tend to lump them together, but they're very different.
Very different.
And so I didn't get that piece of it. Even though I had struggled with depression, it looked different in me. And so, but it was really then you being able to put words to your feelings and share those with us
Yeah.
that I think really helped us go, I get it.
Like a light.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't know if we actually get it.
Yeah.
But or even understand it. But it's a matter of, I got to a point where it really truly this is real.
Right.
And getting
And
to
it
that
shifted
point,
your heart to compassion
Exactly.
instead of,
Right.
what's
Exactly.
their problem? Just get over it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's something I talk a lot about in this, and you both hit on it, is something I'm huge on. I wouldn't say it comes easier for me as being more motivated, a more motivated person and a more driven person, but mental illness is a fight. It's got to be.
Yeah.
And so especially what I talk about this is like, you can't just, and similar to what you were saying earlier, Bruce, you can't just expect medication to make
Correct.
things easier. I'm on anxiety medicine while still exercising 4 times a week, watching what I eat, except for the ice cream I just smashed before this, journaling, spending time in prayer, reading, building relationships, community. Like, there's multiple facets to what this fight looks like.
Yeah.
And each season looks different, where there's sometimes I'll have to try 5 or 6 different things to really feel at peace with the situation. And there's some days that I'll just have to try one thing and then I'm ready to go.
Yeah.
But there's a fight that needs to happen that I think a lot of people struggle to get through, especially those who struggle with depression, because it's
and
such
I think though that continues, and what you have to kind of
It's
wrap
gotta
your
continue. Yeah.
mind around, being a little vulnerable here again. About a month or 2 ago, Jordan called me out again.
Oh, yeah.
and it wasn't just depression; it was just some kind of health issues in general. Just me with not setting good boundaries and stuff. But you called me out and basically said, "Dude, I'm worried about you."
Yeah.
And it flipped something to me that went, "Dang, and he's right."
Yeah.
And I had to make, even though I'm still on medication stuff, I had to make some more changes to my life to go, no, I got to do something differently than what I'm doing.
And then we've seen literally the byproduct of Bruce making changes. You just look
it's
like
so
a happier,
different.
healthier person, even in this last month.
And that's why even in the last year and a half, you would say that you're the healthiest you've ever been.
Yep.
Yeah.
When do you think that actually kind of started? Was it a year and a half?
A year and a half is when it started, yeah. And I would say then, especially since 2022.
So for me, that's been the proof. The proof in the pudding. You know what that means?
Bull in a china shop.
I just was going with it. Proof in the pudding.
Yeah.
You're just
Is that the statement?
Brad
Isn't
just
that how it
makes
goes?
up
that is the
sayings
saying,
now.
but it makes no sense.
Something. It makes
That's the book.
I don't even think that makes sense. Anyway, as I've journeyed with you and watched you through this thing, talk through this whole process, me starting to understand a little bit more, and then I've seen the results of what you've done. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Again, this thing is real.
Yeah.
Now, here's my question to you is, I've seen you fight. I've seen you set those boundaries. I've seen you do stuff willpower-wise that I don't have that much willpower anywhere near me. How would you suggest people who are suffering from anxiety, from depression, some of these things, to fight like you have? The routine that you have, I think for some people, I won't say it's unrealistic is not the word I'm looking for, but it's very difficult.
Yeah. Yeah. The first step is go on to Amazon
and read my book.
Buy my book. I didn't throw that.
I set it up. You spiked it.
I know.
I love it. I love it.
No, that's
Did
actually...
you describe that? I have not read the book yet. I just got mine today.
Yeah, his copy just came today. Bruce, did you order a copy?
Yeah. He's hoping to win his on Saturday.
Neither of you did, so I could throw you both on.
No, mine came today.
Bruce Colbert is going to be buying a copy
Apparently
after this podcast to support his
right
son-in-law. I talk about it in the book.
Okay.
I've lived it. Why do I have to read it?
To support your son-in-law. Especially in chapter 4. It's a concept I'm going to talk about is this concept of collecting your stones. So did I share this with you about David and Goliath? And my counselor challenged me and said, why do you think David collected 5 stones when he ended up just needing 1 to kill Goliath? Okay. And I didn't know. And my counselor said, because I think there's some truth in us doing more, preparing ourselves for more, just in case the first 4 miss, trusting that God's going to still come through on the 5th one. And too many of us with our mental illness just try one thing or just try 2 things. And so what he challenged me to do is to have 5 or 6 things in our arsenal that we can pull on and pull through and pull from if we're struggling. So I am more driven than probably... I'm a very driven person.
You're definitely more driven than most people.
Yes.
Yeah, you're not going to say
I'm not going to say it. It's what I meant.
I'm a very hard worker. I believe that.
Although, I'm not driven like that. I mean, I look and I think it's encouraging.
You really think I'm more driven than you?
Oh, absolutely.
I would say, I don't know that driven's the right word. I think he's more disciplined.
That is for sure. That's
probably the right word.
That is definitely
That's
true.
probably
There's
the
no
right
question you're more
Brad's
disciplined.
highly driven too, but he's not.
That's what I was going to say. When he said that, I was like, really, dude? I mean, you are very driven. Discipline's probably the right word.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. Working towards discipline, I think, is so much more intimidating from the outside looking in when you don't give yourself grace. Because here's what I think happens, especially with mental illness, is we make one mistake and so many people just give up.
Yeah.
And discipline doesn't mean that I don't make mistakes or have cheat days.
Blizzards.
Right. I just smashed a plate at Panda and then had this huge Heath Brownie cupfection, and I feel bloated as all get out because I had McDonald's for lunch.
I was a little disappointed in you.
I know. I feel disgusting. I didn't go to the gym today.
Well, I was eating my caramel sundae.
While you were eating caramel. So here's what I would say to answer your question. If someone's not wired like I am, rethink how you view discipline.
That's good.
By adding the word grace in front of it. I want graceful discipline. You don't have to give up on the process and get discouraged if you have a bad day. Just reset the next day. And that's so much easier said than done. But if you can win over that mindset, then staying disciplined is so much. I mean, you see all these people. I think here's the really fascinating part. So many of us see that I've written this book. And now Jordan's healed and he's happy and he's healthy and he's the end product. And I'm motivating everyone now. But they didn't see all of the failures and the setbacks and the mistakes the last 4 years.
That you still even have.
That I still have.
Right.
Every single
it's a constant fight for you.
Right.
I mean, there was, just to this point, there was a time, I don't know, a month, 2 months ago, I remember you walking into a staff meeting and you were just beaten up.
Yep.
And it was concerning.
Yeah.
The thing that's cool is that I had watched you long before that, and it would take you a week, 2 weeks, a month to get out of the funk that you were in.
Right.
By that afternoon, you were basically out of that funk.
Yep. Because you start pulling rocks from your arsenal. We went to lunch as a staff, which one of my rocks in my arsenal is community time, being around my favorite people. Went to lunch as a staff. I went and got a workout in, came back later that afternoon, and I was great.
Yeah, and it was still there.
Yeah, I mean, it's still present. It doesn't just disappear.
And you were still hurt by what was there.
Yeah.
But you had worked through that process so much faster than before. I think the other thing that happens is, you talk about all these things that you do, from working out to reading to your prayer time, things like that. And I think sometimes it gets overwhelming to say, I can't do that all. But maybe you can do one thing.
Yep. And one thing is so much better. And starting being disciplined in just one thing.
Right.
If you're an individual who likes results more than the process, you're going to struggle if you don't, once again, give yourself grace in the process.
Right.
I think all of us love the results. I'm not saying to love the process more. I'm not saying love going to the gym and pushing your body. No. But if you are somebody with your mental health or with your physical health who does not give yourself grace in the process, you're never going to be able to see the results you want. And so if you are struggling with anxiety and all of this, even think of like, wow, this just sounds like 6 things on my to-do list that I have to check off.
Exactly.
Rewire your thinking on that and say, no, I don't have to do all 6 of these things, bang, 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 bang. Rather than making it a checklist of like, hey, at 9 o'clock I'm doing this, at 10 o'clock I'm doing this, maybe associate different things like prayer, time alone with God, exercise with emotions or feelings that you may be experiencing, so that you can pull from those. There is some truth to be said about preventative work.
Absolutely.
But then I think it's more important for a lot of people who get overwhelmed by the discipline aspect of just knowing and preparing for what to do when something happens. So like, I think it's as important to know how you should respond. That's part of where my growth has come from, is I knew I was having a crappy day. And so rather than, I didn't wake up and do my prayer time that day. The 8 a.m. prayer time hour and journaling time didn't happen before I came into the office. But I knew that Jesus time and that exercise and that community was something I needed to pull from. So after sulking or being struggling for an hour or two, I said, okay, let's just try something. I think too many of us get hooked up on like the bang, 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 the to-do list. Bruce, I know you've shared that you really struggle with kind of especially with taking care of your health, like it just feels like a to-do list. It just feels like a to-do list. But then while there is some truth to that, is it helpful perhaps for someone wired like you to, rather than thinking of it as a to-do list, think of it as like a bag of rocks that when you are struggling, see, I don't even know how I'm wording it.
Yeah,
I'm just rambling a little bit.
No, I hear what you're saying. I think the grace thing is huge, but I also think, again, I'll go back to, it's going to take time.
Yes.
To figure it out, because what works for you may not be the exact same thing that works for somebody else.
Exactly.
Like when you called me out, you knew, and my wife knew, that one of the big things that helps restore me is time away.
Yep. Solitude.
So for me, I took a week's of my vacation and went for 5 nights to an Airbnb just by myself.
Yep.
And I can't tell you how much that changed for me. It doesn't work for everybody.
Yep.
But that's what it does for. That's what I needed.
And you got to find what it is.
You got to figure out what
yourself.
it is for you. And I do also believe doing things in community. You won't be able to stay on top of it by yourself. Community's a piece of it. You've got to have people that can speak into your life, encourage you, call you out when you need to be called out, that kind of thing too. But it's going to take time to figure it out. It's a process, and figuring out what those things are for you in your life, and having the grace along the way to trial and error some stuff until you.
I think that's part of it too, Brad, is slowly implementing change.
Yeah.
So many people, myself included, just like, it's like New Year's resolutions all over again. Like we just jump right in and then we fall apart and we get discouraged.
Yeah.
But what does it look like for us, rather than to like, hey, you know what? Today I'm just going to go for a walk before work.
One step better.
One step.
Yeah.
And
Just
Bruce,
the next step.
Talk about that. You shared with us about this podcast that you were listening to, especially for tech directors or for tech installers, that was saying, rather than cutting all French fries or something, you're just going to get a small this time. And it's like one step forward today.
Exactly.
And I think it's the same thing
just
with
be one
discipline.
step better today than I was yesterday. That's my goal. It's not to be fixed tomorrow.
Yep.
It's what can I do? I was telling you earlier today, they get on me all the time about my eating Taco Bell because I like Taco Bell.
But it's grilled chicken, guys.
It's grilled chicken.
It's
grilled
chicken.
It's grilled chicken burrito. I don't eat the hamburger.
Yeah, it's real chicken, guys. They cook the chicken in the back.
But a funny instance is, what did I tell you today? I only had one instead of two.
Yeah.
I was one better today than I was the day before. It's it's just take a step.
Yep. And that's good stuff.
Yeah, especially with physical health, mental health, spiritual health, emotional health. Like, we're hoping to be here being able to leave an impact for a long time.
Right.
And if you just let yourself go physically, you don't work on it your whole life, you're going to end up being physically incapable of doing things down the road. Same thing with your mental health. It's not something where you're just going to fix it this year. Like, I know me, even though this is the happiest and healthiest season I've ever been in, yes, I've got a lot of discipline and I've got my routine down again. And but I know there's going to come a season when I'm going to need to be pulling from different rocks or from different areas, or maybe re-switching up my environment or my routine and stuff. And so it's just something that, again, give yourself grace in the process of this journey, because healing lasts a lifetime in a lot of ways.
And here's the thing. You getting close to wrapping up, or you still
if
have
you would like
more?
to.
Well,
no, it's 8:45. I just looked at the time for the first time.
I know, me too. That's
we still have 11 concurrent viewers.
Yeah.
So
here's the thing that I just want to say as we kind of wrap up this whole thing is I've seen the results of people being healthy, not just you.
Yeah,
I mean
our entire staff.
Our entire staff, as we've journeyed through some of this stuff.
Yep.
And that's honestly what we want for everybody.
Yep.
Is to be the healthiest version of themselves, because I'm telling you, we can make a difference.
Absolutely.
And as I watched our staff, I watched Bruce, and people who just have committed themselves that, I'm going to get healthier.
Yeah.
And watching what their marriages do.
Yep.
What they do in their workplaces, it makes all the difference in the world. So if you're out there, we want you to get as healthy as we possibly can. That is the best version of you.
Yep, absolutely.
And we want to help you do that in any way we can.
Yep. Well, hey, friends, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Comment down below if you haven't yet, if you want to be entered to win my book. If you already have a copy of my book, if you've already bought it, you can still win a copy and then gift it to somebody perhaps that you know would need it. I will ship it as well if you are not in Fort Wayne. But if you would also like to just support me, will I always feel this way on Amazon? 100% of the profits going to Courageous Healing here in Fort Wayne. Really excited to be able to partner with them. But friends, thank you so much for joining us. Bruce, Brad, thank you for your vulnerability, for your thoughts. This was the final podcast of the season, our serious night. March or May 25th. Is it May 25th? Is that the final Thursday? Final Thursday of the month. Our new youth pastor, Nick Sprunger, and our children's pastor, Piper Cohen, will be joining us for Anything Goes game night. Have a great rest of your night.
See y'all.